In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain, the face of evil lurking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come get it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come get it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Hello, 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 hello. We are here again, Dr. Thunder. We are here again, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and click that like button, share the stream. How to get rich, a 10-step guide. This is part 2. This is part 2. And last week we covered the first 5 or 6, I believe. But the list is not that discreet. So, but anyways, how's it going, Dr. Thunder?
It's all right. I'll tell you one way not to get rich is
What is
to let somebody give you cash so that you'll buy cigarettes from them. You ain't getting rich like that.
All right,
I'll tell you, man. That might be autobiographical. All right.
Did it just happen right now?
Yeah, man. I'll tell you, bro. The area that I live in, so it's a nice area, but you have to drive through some areas that are kind of hood, and there's a brand new. I'm not going to say the name of the other company, but there's like a brand new. What is it? It's like a convenience store, gas station, and it's like right on the way to get to the highway from my house. It's like, and I like a lot of the stuff that's in there. I'll tell you, man, this thing was there for 3 months, and it's like already ran down. It's like a new place, and I'm like, man, you ninjas just. They need some different managers. I don't know what the heck, how a place can get ran down so freaking fast.
Are there like people in the parking lot that kind of ask you for stuff too?
Begging for money and all kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, they just built this place. You can still smell the fresh asphalt, man.
Did they put up signs yet that because there's this
no
there's a similar spot that comes to mind.
They just invite, man. Let me tell you. It's a bunch of homeless folks and a bunch of vagrant kind of folks, like they're just passing through, but they've been on foot for a long time. So you just see a bunch of folks and people that have been what do you call it, hitchhiking. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, I don't even know. Winter is coming. Winter is here, bro. I was like, dadgummit. Oh, darn you.
All right, Dr. Thunder. Maybe we can cheer you up by talking about this money. Shout out to Alonzo, Andre in the building. Go ahead and click that like button. So if I could kind of summary about the first half and also a general kind of shall I say overview of the type of video this is. Shout out to the super chat, by the way. Okay. Shout out to one man went to Mo, always supporting with the Queen's money. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, so generally speaking, he went over in terms of what the video is. It's about your understanding of money, okay? In terms of what your understanding of rich is, your understanding of money, how to get it, how to keep custody of it. He's a kind of a crypto dude, right? But he started out talking about, well, what is rich to you? Get a target. Target is important, right? Because with a target, you can then break it down. Is it 10,000 a month? Is it 80? Is it $100,000 a month, right? Because then you can break it down depending on where you are. You can say, well, how many X do I need to do to get to $100,000 a month? Well, maybe I could just sell one thing for 100,000, or I could sell to 100,000 people $1, whatever it is. Get that target, and then he talked about how money works, and then how to understand the difference between cash, right? What he calls fiat currency, and the money thing. And then just one last thing, real quick. He did talk about how to get money, in particular, in terms of high value skill, a high paying skill. You know, that means many things across the spectrum, right? But we know what it is, right? We know the people that get paid well, get that skill, and then get to a 1099 quickly, that you can then turn it into a business, basically, and then turn that fiat into money. Now, Dr. Thunder, what do you think? I mean, is that a general kind of a thing that happened? What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
That's what, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. And
Cool.
said he had some good
Go ahead.
things to say, and it wasn't too scammy.
Yeah, it wasn't too scammy. And by the way, just as a side note here, a little inside baseball. Like this guy's list, by the way, I had mentioned earlier in a few moments ago that it's not too discreet, and it's the kind of list that I actually kind of like, because it doesn't have it has a general overview of the whole landscape, which is, well, your understanding of cash versus money, and how to get and then keep custody, blah blah blah. And then the list, you'll find out, is not quite like discrete, where it's like, number one, do this, number two, do that, blah blah blah. It just kind of flowed. But I don't know if you noticed that. It's like, I don't do you even remember number one, number two, or number three? Right? He didn't really put it that way. But anyways, but he did say it's 10, and I think we're at number 5. Let's go.
All right.
As some of you will know, there are countless studies that suggest that you pick up the habits of the people around you. This means you must be very conscious of who you spend your limited time with, and of if they help or hurt your goal of being rich.
Hey man, it's breaking up pretty
That's
bad.
number one to you. On that note, becoming exceptionally good to time and occasionally money. Speaking from experience, your
Hey, bro.
were a I'm with. And
It's
speaking of
breaking
which,
up pretty
become
bad.
physically healthy. This means exercising daily, sleeping enough, eating well, and with friends and family. This is all easier to do with a routine.
Maybe I need to hold on 1 second.
You're in the Bay Area, right? You're not in Accra, Ghana, are you?
No, I guess the dust just there's this particular suitcase I need to dust off or something. The dust comes with me. But let us see. I'll take it a couple of steps back. I've reduced the quote unquote quality of the video, and now it's just loading.
Mentally and physically.
So how does that work now, Dr. Thunder?
It seems like it's all right.
All right. We continue.
Healthy. This means exercising daily, sleeping enough, eating well, and quality time with friends and family. This is all easy to do with a routine. Make sure you stick to it. The sixth step follows from the fifth, and that's to go location, location.
Shout out to one man again. Go where there's growth. Go where there's growth. Where there's growth. I wonder what he's going to say about if he's going to give examples of because that would be good, because that is something that is obvious, but I don't think that it is quite well known what these areas of growth are, right? And the well-known general areas, like this gray box of like, well, emerging markets, like, or whatever, and it kind of seems risky and dark, right? So that typically doesn't quite work for, so what are these, how does one take baby steps into these areas of growth? But anyways, technology, for example, right? Basically this kind of whole venture capital deal there, investing in 100 companies, 20 make you 1,000 times the money that you ever put in, right? But 80 of them fail. These are, anyways, let's see if he gives examples.
Lucky, you won't have to go anywhere to find growth. In the modern day, this isn't always necessary. Where you need to go, places will see growth in the coming years. Investing. As you do research,
is it breaking up?
I could understand it, but it's breaking up a little bit.
Got it. Maybe I should slow it down, because my dusty YouTube skills here, and I then moved it all the way forward, didn't I? No problem. We are back. Normal speed. And he's saying, hey, he is saying already, and we'll play it here. We're waiting with bated breath. But he's saying, hey, you don't have to. Well, it's based on your industry, but in the modern times, you don't necessarily have to go anywhere, right? In the sense of, I'm sure he's thinking about remote work in that regard, right? Dr. Thunder, like, okay, let's say, where is the area of growth in the music industry as a whole, whether it be from stage building to performance, recording, management, blah blah blah. Are there general ebbs and flows in music industry, like other industries?
So
if that makes sense.
One thing that's interesting about the music industry is, even in the sort of high arts, or in the sort of high end of the skilled musicians, there still is this sort of 1%, factor. There's the 99% that are kind of scraping, and then there's like the 1% that, like, they hit the long ball, so you have that dynamic that's definitely present. And I don't know, I guess if you're at the upper end of performers, then you can make a whole lot of money playing. But if you're not, you're going to make more money probably in some sort of management, or in producing, or and honestly, there's a lot of money in academia. You have a lot of folks that, they couldn't quite make it, but they're very skilled at what they do, and they're good teachers, and you can get paid. And of course, it's going to depend on the institution. You have a number of folks that are sort of, I'm what I call a hybrid. There are those that just do the academic thing, so they're tethered or tied to an institution, That could be a church, it could be an academic institution, it could be a number of things. And then there are those that are freelance, right? Um, so at the upper end of freelance, as far as money, are people like Taylor Swift, right?
Mhm.
But there's also a bunch of dusties that are freelance, right? There's a lot of dust in the freelance. So the freelance, in order to make it more stable, a lot of really successful freelance musicians have said, okay, I'm going to do the hybrid thing. I'm going to find an institution, you know, figure out how I can work a schedule, get my insurance and benefits, and then I can also do my freelance, right? So,
Mhm. If I may abstract from an aspect of what you said, and an aspect of what is key to growth, is that growth areas come with more, or shall I say, less information. What I mean by information is certainty. I didn't want to just say the simple thing, which is risk reward, right? In other words, more risk. And basically, I wanted to kind of characterize the nature of that risk, which is uncertainty, which is the nature of a lot of risk. Uncertainty in that area. So volatility, for example, let's say it's, hey, we're listening to Coin Bureau, like might as well talk about crypto, right? By the way, Bitcoin is over 35,000 again, and some other my crypto bag is bagging right now, lately again. Uh, so these areas are highly volatile, and there's not a lot of certainty. But one of the big hedge fund manager type, I think Paul Tudor Jones, is his name, said in that, talked about picking the fastest horse. So when the market starts rallying, there's some things that rally way higher percentage than others. Things like crypto, or shall I say, the example is the 7 companies, tech companies that are holding up the S&P 500 right now, right? So those high areas of high volatility is where you get the most. And I'm abstracting from what you said basically, which is that the random at the higher echelons, especially in music and areas like that, there's a lot of uncertainty, but there's a lot of reward. There's a lot of excitement. There's the lifetime of somebody whom you could say, quote unquote, is successful or was successful. There's a lot of ups and downs there too, right? You know, yeah, in 1989, I used to tour the world, but now, you know, I do well, but whatever, right? That kind of thing is kind of in that area. But anyways, good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue.
Location. If you're lucky, you won't have to go anywhere to find growth. In the modern day, this isn't always necessary either. Where you need to go ultimately depends on which industries will see growth in the coming years. This ties back to the fourth step about informed. As you do research for equities that offer lots of currency creation, you should get a sense of which industries are growing. If you watched our video about BRICS, you'll know that it appears that a new commodity super cycle is beginning, or will begin towards the end of the decade. This relates to energy, food, chemical, to the previous of being exceptional at what you do. Ideally, you want to become good at things that these and other industries will require once they really start to ramp up. This will put you in the perfect position to maximize currency from them, using what you learned in step 3. If you want to speed things up, you can try and build skills that are applicable to niche industries that are seeing exponential growth and only just starting to gain adoption.
So that's the thing about niches as well, right? Um, they're small. Niches doesn't necessarily have to be small. It could just be necessarily, shall we say, specialized. And it also tends to be okay. So, but in that small pond, the splashes are more felt. You know, if in other words, a burgeoning industry, right, that then it pops, the curve of that pop is way more steep, okay, has a higher slope than the pop of all the other companies. Oh yeah, everybody went up. S&P, Apple is up, everybody's up, but this one particular small company went up like 300x, you know, that kind of thing. So it's in small areas like that and niche areas. And this is the thing you mentioned earlier about niche skills. Dr. Thunder, you talk about getting niche, for example, with regards to, really mastering an instrument, but then also being further niche in terms of rare now by having some facility, or shall I say, exploring and training that whatever facility you may have with other instruments, right? And so that you can stack them up as a little bit, so that you're more rare, so you don't just play one thing. You play all woodwinds plus bass and guitar, blah blah blah, right? So that niche thing, I comment on this niche aspect, which is the second time it's coming up in this video.
Yeah. One thing that you have to do so you don't get passed by is you have to keep acquiring skills. And he was talking about technology. I mean, you can't allow, especially technologies that are being regularly used by other people in your field.
Days
You
of
really
the
should
old
know.
man who doesn't know how stuff works and it doesn't matter. It because of the acceleration of technological growth. Sorry to cut you off, but basically that you cannot afford to not keep up with the technological times anymore. Right?
I'll tell. Let me tell you though. There are a few places where you can still play the old man card
And get rich.
and I'm sorry to say that academia is one of them. You can still play the old man card, and it's totally ridiculous. You have these cats that don't know a dadgum thing, literally going backwards in time. It's pretty sorry, but that's the only place, and that's going to be short lived. I'd say it lasts a little bit longer. It's the last place for it to leave, that possibility, but it's pushed out there too.
Pushed out there too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue.
One example here is the crypto industry, where everything is so new that it's easy to become an expert and the pay can be pretty good. Another example is 3D printing, which has likewise seen exponential growth and has jobs that pay well.
Lawyers and accountants, by the way, a lot of when it comes to the, shall we say, crypto industry, because they're always, let's say you're in engineering or you're in construction or you're whatever, there are niche, new, cutting edge aspects, right, of each of these industries that are these areas of growth that is being referred to in this thing that we're talking about here, which is about finding growth. We talk about growth has to do with this randomness and risk, okay? High risk, high reward. We anticipated that he will bring in cryptocurrency, which he just brought in, right? But also finding that cutting edge aspect of whatever industry you're in, you being cutting edge yourself, right? We're trying to get rich after all, right? So it's not like we're trying to half-ass it, right? So you be cutting edge and find the cutting edge aspects, and that's where things happen. There's so many. I mean, it's kind of obvious whatever industry you're in. But the reason I paused it here was to say even lawyers and accountants now are getting a huge boom because of this new crypto thing, in the sense that the IRS and the government are very interested in taxing and getting the money out of it, and there are not too many people that understand this stuff, understand blockchain and how you can hide your money. And so accountants, lawyers, the big firms and all the little guys are kind of eating off this as well.
But barely anyone knows about it. The nicheness of these and other industries means that it's also easy to get to know the key players in them, which puts you in a perfect position to succeed in the next step. The 7th step to getting rich is to start your own thing or join a startup. Once you've made connections in an industry that's experiencing growth, it's likely that you'll come across many opportunities at up-and-coming companies in these industries that are hiring. Believe it or not, but these up-and companies can industry. This is in part because many of these companies receive large amounts of funding in their early stages, allowing them to pay top dollar in a bid to attract the top talent.
Well, yeah, perfectly put. Top dollar in the bid to attract the top talent. I don't know. Do you have any comments on anything I said so far, or we keep going?
No, keep going. Keep going.
It's also in part because you're going to be working your butt off to build whatever product or service your startup is offering. The silver lining is that you will actually have a say in these products and services. You're early in the company itself. Now, from what I've seen in the 7th step, things can get difficult and are already making a decent salary. I've seen many get too comfortable and complacent. You can't lose sight of the end game. If you manage to get to this stage, you must constantly ask yourself how you can achieve escape velocity. In a position where you've created so much currency for being and investing rich in the actual sense, time, money, and financial freedom. Depending on though, this might feel like an impossible task. For instance, maybe the startup you found working for fails. Newsflash too. Don't get discouraged though. Take what you've learned and try to put yourself back in a position where escape velocity is possible.
All right, finding that escape velocity after starting your own thing, which is was going to be an obvious aspect of this journey here, and then talking about failure. One of the things that encourages the whole Silicon Valley kind of tech industry growth is a culture that doesn't judge failure. It doesn't mean that you fail and people are celebrating you or just throwing money at you. It's the fact that if you're coming again to venture capitalists with another idea, or you're trying to raise money or attract people, or you're just out there marketing or selling this new idea or building this new thing, a lot of times you have street cred for this being your third go around. If, right, Dr. Thunder, if you actually demonstrated A, growth, and B, good integrity, and treated the people that you were interacting with, because it's typically a small club with whatever we're talking about, if we stick with this Silicon Valley thing. If they knew, oh, this guy, he's good at this, blah, 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 and he's coming around the third time, it's an easier way. I mean, it's way easier if you're making the choice, Dr. Thunder, than to pick from these new guy that comes in. Maybe it's a good idea, but you already know 80 of these things that you're throwing money at are going to fail out of 100, right? So when you see somebody that has done it a couple of times and those other things that I said have been met, then hey, actually there is that culture of let's get this guy another run. Anyways, I don't know. Any thoughts on anything so far?
Well, so and of course I didn't see it because I was in a rehearsal, but I'm gonna watch the replay of the Republican what was it, debate or whatever. It happened earlier this evening. And of course, although he's been indicted and all this stuff is circulating, still the front runner is still Donald Trump, right? And one of the things that you hear people say to sort of his naysayers, one thing, especially the hard lefties, is they will criticize him and they'll act as though he was a poor businessman because he's been bankrupt and because he's lost his businesses and because X, Y, and Z. But actually, the fact that he has lost and been able to come back and lost, been able to come back and lost and been able to come back and been able to come back and been able to come back, that's a sign of something that's much more valuable, if we're honest, than just somebody simply you know, never quote unquote failing
What do you think these
and
people
and
are
never getting bankrupt, right?
getting at when they criticize? What do you think they're? I mean, forget. Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt that it's not just some kind of ad hominem. They don't like the guy, so they're just going to say stuff. But people who give the general criticism of, oh, he went bankrupt a couple of times, or X went bankrupt, whatever this, whomever this person may be, criticizing failure in a particular way. What do you think? Whom are they? What are they comparing it with? What's this shining hill?
Well, they don't
Uh,
know anything. I mean, it shows that they don't know anything.
yeah,
It
because it's
shows
like
that they themselves have never, you know, they probably don't know anybody even
don't know
that
anybody, have never
has
really attempted things, and even like let's say we're sticking with the real estate market, which Trump is, a real estate business, which by the way, because of its financialization, is can be quite frothy. It goes up and down. We often just talk about the economy in terms of real estate, right? Shorthand in certain regards, right? So that going up and down comes with a lot of readjustments and this and that and selling out and 60 cents on the dollar here and there, blah, blah, blah. That even like a BlackRock, which is like a big cap, they own everything basically, right? In terms of real estate stuff. They go through those things too, right? I mean, are these people looking at BlackRock's books? I mean, you could look at the books of some bank. Yeah, anyways, so it's kind of crazy.
yeah, it's just silly. I mean, it's
And escape velocity is
well, it telegraphs that they're idiots. They don't actually know what they're talking about, and they can't actually think of a valid criticism. I mean, if that's the worst that you had, oh, he's a failed businessman. Heck of a failed businessman. I'd be so lucky to be as failed as him. Come on, man.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, because so let's take some let me steel man their position. The best form of that kind of criticism particular is that he has not been the most kind of his style of doing the business. In other words, for example, they say Trump didn't pay people, which is common in the construction and real estate industry. Like, it's just kind of notorious that the bigger contractors don't want to pay the smaller contractors. It's just, and they kind of give all kinds of stuff like that happens. But his mode of failure, manner of failure, being out there in the public and certain other kinds of things, and just his personality in general. We're talking about that kind of guy, right? I mean, I need not kind of expect he's a kind of shoot from the hip, jump into stuff, risk taker, big, let's go big type guy. So that visual and it being so public is a little uncouth to certain people's tastes, right? So that's the best steel man I can give for Trump in particular. If they say, "Oh, that guy is a bad businessman," right? Because of that thing. But it's like, look, he's still doing like, hey, that is the game. Other people are just more contained, or they're hiding their stuff from, like, you're not looking at BlackRock's books, as I said. But B, he is doing that crazy dance of, you're like, oh, he's just like my crazy uncle. No, but he's doing your crazy uncle dance at the $1 billion level, right? He's way better than just your crazy uncle, right? Anyways, it's
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged, though. Take what you've learned and try to put yourself back in a position where escape velocity is possible. And escape velocity is what the 8th step is all about. And it's one that every rich person has achieved, with the exception of those with inherited wealth. As far as I can tell, there are only 2 ways to achieve escape velocity: cash out of the up-and-coming company you work for, or take it public via IPO, your industry, something that will be easy to do if you executed step 6 correctly. If you go and look up the profiles of rich people you know, chances are you'll see that they sold their company to a larger competitor in the past. But if you want to become truly rich, then IPO is the way to go. To put things into perspective, more than half of Elon Musk's wealth comes from his holdings of Tesla stock. It's a
Yep. So just a quick word on this, and I could continue. But the founder of PayPal. I guess okay, that's Elon Musk, right? Along with Peter Thiel, some other people, and then they went on to found many other companies and sold them, and sold unicorns, which are billion-dollar kind of startups at a very early stage type stuff, um, and did it over and over again. Is this escape velocity that he's talking about in terms of going big to get the most amount of money from the market? It is a financialization scheme. What I mean by that is it's a valuation of your company, and then people pump money into it, right? So, in other words, it's in the money market. It's in that market of interest rates and banks and options and this is and that's right. The credit market, right? So if that is the big pool of infinite dollars out there, right? That if you want to get into, and there are many ways to get into this, by the way, in terms of getting and selling companies, starting small, going big. The simple example I like to give from time to time is with nursing homes or these other kinds of facilities. You can start with the rundown ones and stuff, kind of, and bundle them together in a chain with with a management philosophy and stuff that you come in typical kind of acquisition type stuff, cut the fat out of the company, right? Uh, acquire a few more things, blah blah blah, sell it to the next whatever, and then buy the next set, blah blah blah. Next thing you know, you're selling high end kind of hospice spaces in Florida, right? Um, but getting into the financial market is the key part of what he's saying here. I just felt like emphasizing that.
Similar story for most of the richest people on the planet. They all hold or held large amounts of shares in the company they helped build and then took public. That's the open secret to their wealth. Note that you don't necessarily need to be a part of a crypto startup, for instance, to achieve escape velocity. If you make the right connections, you could be given the opportunity to be an investor in these companies when they're in their early stages. In practical terms, your payout could be the same or even larger. Just don't forget what I said in step 3. You want to make as much currency as possible, but you also want to keep as much currency as possible. With a bit of luck, you'll find accountants who can help you sell your stakes in startups you own or co-founded without having to give half of your gains to the government. And this is especially relevant to step 9, which is to stay rich. Now, this is by far the hardest step, not that I would know. In all seriousness, there's a reason why 70% of lottery winners end up broke after a few years. Besides the fact that they didn't learn the first 8 steps, staying rich isn't as easy as it seems. For starters, there's a high likelihood that you'll face pressure from your friends and family to share more than you should. And there's a high likelihood that you will. They're your friends and family, after all. Meanwhile, others
hey, can
who've
I say
heard
something?
that you're wealthy will actively try and get a piece of your wealth
Let me
for
say something.
themselves. After all, money and currency can't be made. You can only convince others to give.
Hey, man, if I hit the lotto,
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
Dusties ain't getting none of my bread. You ain't getting none of my bread. No Dusty family members, no Dusty relatives, nothing. Y'all ain't getting none of my bread.
It's interesting that
You
that's
getting nothing.
the Master P model, if you will. When he so far is talking about the friends and family coming to ask you for money. I'm sure he'll talk about other aspects of why it's actually difficult to stay rich, or why staying rich often involves losing some significant part, right? And then gaining it again, right? Um, it's just kind of part of the dance, that kind of up and down of it. I mean, he already mentioned that most of these rich people, the richest of the rich, are kind of shareholders in financialized situations. Um, but yeah, it's the friends and family stuff, that Master P model of not giving to the family and all that kind of stuff, and in other words, just having basic discernment, okay? Because look, I get in that situation. I have to deal with that kind of thing in certain instances, and or I have to deal with it now that I have a system, it's like, I don't have to worry about it too much. Okay, but now I'm rambling. But basically, I'm saying that you give something to someone. First of all, you need to discern how someone is coming at you, right? Some people you just cut off right off the bat, like,
What you're saying is you ain't giving none of your bread to no dusty ninja.
yeah. Then when you give somebody and then you watch what they do, what they're doing, how they're responding. Oh, I'm seeing this guy. Oh, he's learning the world. It's a literal story, an actual story, autobiographical, as you said earlier. He learned the world. Okay, he asked for this thing. I gave it to him. He hasn't come back to ask for another thing for a while, and he seems appreciative and everything. And I'm seeing that he's doing stuff. That guy comes back to me like, "Oh, I got it, blah blah blah, right? Whatever to do this thing to get this ticket, blah." Blah. He's getting it, right? Um, as opposed to the person who comes to you with something every month. Oh, there's a school thing I gotta do, and oh, now I need this fee for this, and it's some people are just
Look, man.
ridiculous. Those people you don't give,
Look.
you cut off, keep them away.
Look, I'm gonna tell you too. When I get filthy rich, I'm gonna be dusty rich. It's a new kind of rich. It's when you look dusty all the time, but you really got a lot of bread, and people know you got bread, and you won't give them any bread, and you won't even spend any of your money, and you still look dusty, and that makes them more mad.
You go to the cookout, you only bring like paper plates,
like
hot dogs. Real cheap hot dogs too, just basic hot dogs, couple stacks.
I'm gonna be dusty rich, bro. Then you're not gonna like it.
Clicked
them to you. If you've gotten rich by following something like the that I've just mentioned, then you need to be on the lookout for those who will exploit your investor of money and currency. You'll need to be on the lookout for what's going on politically. When Times highlights you need to ask yourself
again, emphasizing something he brought up earlier when I had.
Oh, go ahead. Hey, are you there, man? Uh-oh. We got some dust. Some dusty internet. That's all right. We're getting it together. Okay, you back, man?
I think so. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You back.
Yeah. So he was just saying something about your geography, having exposure to different assets in different geographies, and also being able to move within those places, which is a key aspect of the money game, right? There is a reason people start getting passports and stuff like that. Shout out to Passport Bros, but also on the money game, there's a reason why rich people have different passports, golden citizenships by investments in different places, and you can get a decent spot for like $80,000 in the country of Georgia, for example. Why the country of Georgia? I don't know, but because you want to have a place that you've determined is a solid place, it's yours, you own it, is diversified away from because you have to understand risk. Risk, one aspect of looking at a particular type of risk, and it can also be analogize many kinds of real risky situations, is when you have a bunch of fuel, like kindling, like wood and stuff like that piled up, right? Ready to get lit on fire. It's all clustered in one spot. That's a risky situation. Meaning, let's say, for example, you work in the oil industry, you live in an oil town, right? You have your 401k in the company, whatever, and you invested in oil stocks, right? I mean, oil industry goes down, you lose your job, your house value goes down because you live in the oil, whatever. That's a risky situation. You have all this kindling piled up in one particular spot. So, as opposed to owning something free and clear, let's say you have a mortgage in the United States, but you own another property free and clear in another country, and you know that comes with certain types of exposure as well to particular interest rates, particular volatilities in that market as well. Maybe in that particular piece of property that you got for 80K goes up to 160 at some point. But anyways, it's a key aspect of the money journey. You gotta get out, expand.
This could include anything from a lawsuit to sudden death. There's a reason why rich people are so fond of trust funds. These are all things you'll have to look into when the time is right. And this brings me to the final step to being rich, and that's to enjoy the journey. If you think about it, having lots of money fundamentally means that you have more time to do the things you enjoy with the people you love. Not sure who needs to do it, but you need to be showing results. But for most of us, in the middle is more than enough to live a happy life. This is easy to forget when you've grown up in a society where you're being taught that more is always better. That's not always the case. Hence the song,
Your guy.
More Money, More Problems. At the same time, though, you can't let yourself be lazy in the modern monetary system. The currency you earn for the time you work is losing its value as you watch this video. This means that your time is literally being stolen from you. If you allow this to continue unchecked, you will inevitably end up poor. That's why it's imperative that you follow the steps I'm
Fiat gets actively devalued. That's actively, and that's part of the process. That's part of the idea. It's not a mistake that your money gets devalued. It is done actively. It's part of a particular purpose. It does serve people whom have assets and such because that money gets devalued and assets get inflated. So you had 1,000 in your account, but at some point now it's only 700 because it's only worth $700 now because somebody took that money out of there and inflated an asset with it through quantitative easing by printing of money and all that good stuff. But anyways, let's continue here. But part of what he's saying now is a reemphasis of part of number one, which is you got to know what rich is for you, and you got to understand your biology, your makeup, your motivations. This cannot be something that someone else planted in your head, right? Or this cannot be you trying to live somebody else's life or whatever. It's that won't work out.
I mentioned in this video, even if you don't plan on getting rich, particularly the first 5. They will ensure that you can retain the value of your limited time and that you can weather whatever economic storms blow across the course of your existence. When all is said and done, you might look around and realize that you're one of the richest people you know, just because you're the only one who remembered to convert their currency into money. Just remember that any asset you don't personally custody technically doesn't belong to you. I can't stress just how important self-custody will be in the coming years. Governments appear hell-bent on taking total control of people's assets through digitization. If all digitized assets are made to trade against dystopian CBDCs, then you really will own nothing and be happy. You can learn more about that using the link in the description. And that's all for today's video, folks. So if you found it helpful, let us know by smashing that like button.
Yeah, so as you had mentioned earlier, not to he wasn't doing any kind of weird sales thing or trying to push whatever, but shout out to Bob Thank you very much for the super chat. And you're saying one of the reasons rich get passport is to avoid the Marxists taking their money. Okay. All right then, Rush Limbaugh. Shout out to you. I don't know if you're still there, Dr. Thunder, because you dropped off and came back, and you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, got it. So yeah, go ahead.
So one thing that he said was a little bit of, I don't want to hear that. And that is the whole.
Let me guess.
Well, yeah,
Go ahead.
it's the whole. What was it? What was it? Know when you have enough, or more is not always more, or whatever that. That goofy stuff. Well, yeah, no, more is always more. That's definitely the case. Now, what he's saying is, at some point, you're going to get to the place where other stuff, maybe relationships with your family, spending time with your kids, doing that kind of stuff is going to be more important than chasing the bag. Okay, I get that part. But more is always more. More power is always more power. And that's why people do all the stuff that they do to get more. It's because it is more. Okay. Now go ahead.
What do you? Now this is just So I see that particular advice very much kind of in the same way you do. That kind of thing of like telling people, oh, I think it's infantilizing in a certain sense. Was like, oh, don't have too many cookies. Don't have too many cookies, Mr. Wallace. You might upset your stomach. You don't. You
Hey.
got to know when you've had enough cookies. Okay, you might want to take a nap and all that kind of stuff. So I do see it as a little bit of a infantilization, and I had addressed it, and I think the only valid aspect of it is the aspect of people whom, shall we say, are more influenced by the outside world, and they're told to do certain things when they're not really built or trying or should be doing it. In other words, they shouldn't be trying to get rich. Okay, because this is the thing of appetites, and appetites also come with the energy or the idea or vitality to kind of burn and create and do things, right? So if you have that kind of appetite, if you're like a weirdo like Dr. Thunder that just like to grind away at stuff and just keep on going and going, if you're like me, that is I'm a man of large appetites of all of every kind, right? And I want to bury myself into constantly doing stuff. How can you possibly tell me that, oh, I shouldn't get more tools, which money is, more expand, but get more optionality, more freedom, more access, more this, more that? It's like there's not enough lifetimes for me to do all the crap I want to do. Okay. So 100% more is definitely more. But if you don't have these appetites nor the energy to go crazy, don't just listen to other people, right? Again, this is about the people, the extroverted feelers, right? The shout out to the FE people. We know they exist, Dr. Thunder, right? You can't just pretend like they don't. Okay. They actually outnumber you greatly. And these people will listen to society and they will pursue certain things. And then they get to a crossroads. They call it midlife crisis or whatever the hell they call it, and all kinds of things. And I'm not happy. I didn't know this is the whatever I wanted. All that kind of BS. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, come on. I thought we already knew that we were in terms of this video. I mean, I guess he said it in the beginning. I'm saying it at the end. I guess you got to say this type of stuff to get to be on YouTube. I guess I don't know. Like, I mean, come on. I mean, 24/7. This channel is talking about crypto and money, 100% serious, right? But he does a video like this, and it's like,
Yeah,
money,
right. Yep.
You don't have to, you don't have to have all the cookies.
Yeah. Everybody has to kiss the ring. Everybody has to kiss the ring. Okay, all right, I kissed the ring. Okay, now let's get back to it.
Shout out. Is that McDrama Bear? I believe yes.
Yeah.
Talking about yes, invest in 401k. Now, here's the thing about the 401k. You might want to look into an IRA rather than a 401k because you have more control over it. And also, if you're trying to maximize and play the money game in a particular way, other than, shall I say, the well grooved out path that is kind of designed for you, right? Do this and then do that and then 401k, blah, blah, blah. You might want to consider exactly what that 401k means, especially if in an environment where taxes are going up, because you're going to get taxed no matter what, regardless. And if taxes are going up, putting your money away just to get taxed on it later might not be the best thing, because you might need that money to do this investment, that escape velocity that was part of, I believe, number 7, right? And all that kind of stuff. You might need to reinvest your money, get that cash, as he said, and make it into money. Take that 401k money and buy that freaking home in Hungary or something. I don't know, right? That idea you also need to consider, especially if you want to get to start getting some escape velocity, start getting some momentum, some traction here. You need to start looking at your money in different kinds of ways. You might want to have the option to take that money out, have it and put it in all the kinds of ways that are also tax sheltered, right? Because if it's part of a business, then the expenses in the business and all these other things are write-offs, blah, 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 right? So, ladies and gentlemen, also, if you want to do that though, but because I also encourage IRAs of all kinds and max it out, definitely max out whatever the government allows you to put it into these things if you're able to, right? But the IRA gives you more freedom to be able to do withdrawals if you need to, and other kinds of things. The 401k is run by the company, right? By the 401k provider. And they have rules of this and that and blah, 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 right? But you can get the same tax benefit of putting your money away on the side, right? By just running it yourself. And if you're trying to get rich, well, then you better at least take responsibility, right? Because the reason people just, anyways. But the 401k match, if your place matches, then at least do, like, if they match 4%, do 4%, right? Because that's, you're getting that cash, right? And then at some point, but plan at some point maybe to take that cash out and put it and do something with it, because that normie path is not going to get you rich.
Yeah, you can't just exchange your time for money. That doesn't work. You may have to do that to get some cash, but then once you get the cash, then you have to try to find ways to get some residual income happening, get some and make some investments, flip some money, flip some stuff, get some more cash, invest. I mean, all the stuff that the guy said in this video. But just the straight getting, just basically getting compensated for your time, that's not going to work.
And shout out to Andre. Yes, the penalties for any early withdrawal. Look into, especially with the CARES Act, by the way, which is a new thing, which, after pandemic CARES Act has a lot of goodies in there. One of the goodies in there is now it has expanded the way you can withdraw without the penalties, or minimizing the penalties, still getting taxed, but minimizing it too. And you can handle that tax the way you handle your other tax. You got to pull out 20K from your 401k or something like that, right? There is a way of subsuming it, like, okay, yeah, now my income went up by 20K this year, but there are ways of also balancing that out, right? In terms of sheltering the money or whatever it is, right? Because the point is, you are at the 1099 as business owner status here, and there are many ways to play that particular tax game, right? But anyways, let's uh, let's close out by just kind of emphasizing the main thing of this video, which is knowing the difference between money and cash, right? That's his whole thing. the difference between money and cash, the difference between that fiat, which loses value, and money, which would be something like gold, something like, and gold is held its value pretty solidly because these are stores of value, by the way. These are not how you get rich. You get rich by getting that fiat out of the fiat machine. Okay, you got to get rich by getting cash. So you immediately have custody of it and put it into something like acres of land, agriculture in areas where it's still, and speaking of areas of high growth, in these emerging markets, you don't have to create the next kind of killer app or some kind of crazy new AI leap in order to capture some rather large gains. I'm saying basically, even something as simple as agriculture in certain places, okay, if you can get the land and get the right thing going and boom, right? Those are, I mean, a lot of the quote rich people in Africa, for example, are farmers. Um, there's just you know, because again the area is poor. It's not like a lot of people have a lot of money to buy a lot, have a lot of land and operate it at scale. So if you start operating at scale and growing, you're just making a lot of money, right? Because it's not a fully exploited market yet, right? So speaking of areas, but anyways, the whole thing about how to get that, how to get property, assets, things that cash flow, things that hold their value is the main thing of this video. Get the cash out of the market, the fiat out of the market, and then turn it into real money. But anyways, Dr. Thunder, what are your thoughts about that or anything else? And closing thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things I was saying about just like you have to get out of the direct compensation just for your time. You have to get out of that because you can't get anywhere if that's your only strategy. You may have to do that to um, some to lock in stuff like insurance and benefits, certain benefits. You may need to punch the clock, um, to get to a certain place. But once you've gotten there, then you gotta figure out what else you can do.
100%. Do it all. Yeah. Punch the clock, punch another clock, and then start this, do that, juggle the other thing, have two computers running in your freaking whatever, mining Bitcoin back in the day. Just do it all.
Yeah, you gotta do more than just compensation for time. You gotta do other stuff too. Yeah, and then the whole. I mean, it used to be that I mean, you want to have I suppose you need to have a certain amount of savings, or you need to be liquid enough so that you can get cash if you need it. But it seems like these days the best thing is to almost be cash poor. It's better to be cash poor and actually have all of your cash in money. Let's put it that way, as he was putting it, in money, in stuff that actually is retaining its value, than in stuff that literally is losing its value as you're holding it in your hand.
As long, and then if you're you're like, okay, cool, so that's a good principle, that's true. So now what do? I need some kind of that. In other words, to be comfortable, I need some kind of cash flow, some kind of pipeline, right? So,
Right.
and that comes in different ways. You've established yourself as as a high level freelancer, for example. This comes with
Right.
actual relationships, I'm sure, with actual people, actual institutions, and that are solid enough that it's not just kind of some kind of amorphous, oh, maybe I get it, maybe I don't. It's more solid. It's more like a clientele, if you will, right? So having this clientele, understanding, okay, because the reliability of that particular cash flow, and then living on that. This is something that Just want to add this: having a basic level that you can always fall back to is a good thing, and that means basically limiting your recurring costs. In other words, things such as mortgages and car payments and blah blah blah, those should be minimal, right? So you're taking fistful of cash and you buying land over there, and you're doing this over there, and you flew over here, and you did blah blah blah, right? But don't go crazy with it. But if those things fail, your monthly payments or for your car, your this and your that are taken care of, in the sense that you have a basic source of cash flow that can take care of that aspect. And if you have to fall back, you have a nice pad to fall back on, right? But then you're playing with money at trying to get the escape velocity thing going, trying to, after getting that 1099, starting that, as he said in number 6 or 7, starting your own thing that involves either you're getting money from the market, as he mentioned, IPO and selling out, or you are plowing money back into the business. But it's not like you're moving into a freaking 1,000 square foot house now, right? No, you keep a certain basic level, right? And the way that, and you have to know your comforts and your tastes, right? Like, and you got to know where to just, like, okay, this is a good cap. Like, I don't need to get past here. I don't need to
Look,
be.
no.
Yeah.
I already told you I'm gonna be dusty rich.
There you go.
I don't need nothing, man. You know, I go to the cookout with a bag of pork hot dogs. And I got some you know, some flip flops on. I didn't even put lotion on, so I'm looking like Ashy Larry. But I'm rich though. I'm not broke. I'm rich, dusty rich. See,
This
I
saying,
don't need much.
someone is asking about assets under scrutiny, assets to be seized if you come under scrutiny. Now, now, unless you're doing something crazy, because we're just talking about taking money and trying to put it into building up a pipeline, right? Building up a business, or property, or any kind of asset, or any kind of real kind of money, hard money, right? And that is not against the law. And by the way, even if you are, running, kind of the IRS doesn't, like what you're doing here or there, that's just part of the freaking business. I mean, I mean, that's just part of the game. And they're not just gonna come to your house with handcuffs, or just start seizing crap. Like, no, what are you, SBF? Like, no, you're not doing SBF type stuff. You can always clean up later. Someone like me with my personality, I like to move fast and break things. I know that there's debt to be paid. In other words, administrative debt, which will come in the form of, oh, well, you didn't meet this particular regulation, you didn't pay this particular tax, you didn't check this particular box properly, right? I completely understand that those are things that I have to clean up, typically like 5 years after I've done the damage or something like that, because I just had to grow, I had to move fast, blah blah blah, right? So that's just part of the game. Some people are a little bit more deliberative in terms of like making sure that they have certain ducks in a row before they move, and power to them. Like, more, I just know myself that I just rather move and then fix it behind me. But anyways, ladies and
So
gentlemen, go ahead.
so I was thinking about this. So you know, I'm still talking about the dusty rich thing. Okay, I could start. Oh no, I'm trying to think of how to do this. So it's like a take on like a gold digger video where you pretend to be like a peacocking type of bro, but then then when she actually gets, she gets to know you, it turns out you rich, but you dusty though, and you won't pay for nothing. You trying to go 50-50 with her. I mean, you got bank, you got mad loot, but you going 50-50 with her. I think this might be something, man. I think Dusty Rich might be the thing.
Yeah, you and Solo should do a skit on it or something.
Right. It puts it all to bed. It puts it all to bed because they trying to get you for your money, but they can't get you money because you Dusty Rich. You don't even have your butt. Oh, that's great. Uh, you're cash poor, because you just invested all your bread. That's why you trying to go 50-50 with her.
Damon Dash always
Uh,
used to talk about investing all his money or putting his money in the street, as they like to use that particular slang, right? Um,
right.
and I always had I just kind of now realized why I always had an issue with the way he presented it, because he never talked about cash flow. He just made it seem like, oh, I just get money and I just put it away. I'm like, well, you can't just tell people to just put their money away. It's like, where's your cash flow source? You never kind of disclose that or mention that particular aspect, which is, hey, I have this particular pipeline. Some of these monies that I'm putting away are successful. Some of these
Uh,
are businesses that are successful that pay me such and such every month, and I can live on that. But yeah, go
these
ahead.
these hoes. That was his. That's his cash flow. These hoes.
Indeed, I'm a pimp named Slick Back. Pimp named. I don't know. That video is now on every short with the people doing that uh, dance move. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the end of the second part. Okay, very good video, very good set of videos. Part one and part two: how to get rich 10-step process. Right? What is rich to you? What does it mean to you? That's the first thing, and you have to set that target. And the targets are important. Understanding of what you want, what will feel comfortable to you. Is it 10 grand a month, 80 grand a month, whatever it is, right? And then understanding how money works, understanding that the fiat that you have completely diminishes, and you need to take that and get it into something hard, something that keeps its value, store of value. If you're a Bitcoin person, hey, that's Bitcoin, it's Ethereum, whatever it is, or it's gold, it's other assets. And then things that cash flow. How do you get to things that cash flow? Well, you have to get that high level skill, which you then take into a 1099 in a niche industry, right? Where you get the big bang for your buck, and then you start your own thing. Hopefully, you can get escape velocity by financializing that stuff, or trying to get into some other business with the cash flow that you're getting from perhaps your okay business, but you're not a multimillionaire yet. Taking that, investing in other things, and then find that escape velocity there, ladies and gentlemen, in areas of opportunity, as he said, or areas of growth, which is areas of randomness, areas of uncertainty. You got to go out there where the fruit is. Shout out to the super chatters one more time. Shout out to Bob, always holding it down, and one man went to Mo. Much appreciated. Check us out next week, right? Check us out next week. Check out Dr. Thunder. Are you doing your Two Dots React, or is
Yeah,
it?
probably. Yeah, I should be doing it. Uh, 2 weeks ago, Thursday, we did it. Man, that was a good video. I mean, excuse me, YouTube pulled that joint because we was talking too much smack, I guess. About it was a little bit too much conspiracy and a little bit too much tinfoil, and a little bit too much small hat heat. Uh, so
Hmm.
it got pulled, and they didn't even just warn me. They just like pulled the joint.
Uh,
They wouldn't let me like download it and edit like out whatever the problem was.
they
It was
gave you the
just like
Kanye.
no,
Maybe that's what we'll call that one. They put a Kanye on you,
right,
right?
right. It was like yeah, it was
You're
like
out of here.
yeah, it was like they're getting rid of that Dusty video. I was like, all right. And the last week I couldn't do it because I was doing Mrs. Doubtfire. Play that musical Mrs. Doubtfire all week.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
SBF gets sentenced, by the way, we should that'll be an interesting one to we did make some predictions, I believe. I think it was maybe the New Year in the beginning of the year when the thing started happening. I think it was also part of the New Year show. We made some predictions regarding whether or not he was gonna get. I think I don't know if it was you or LAR, but somebody said, "Oh, he's gonna get off. He's not gonna get whatever." But he has been convicted. he's facing a lot of time, but you know how that people go around saying, "Oh, facing 1,000 years." It's like they just add all the maximums, which never happen, right? It's like, it's like, oh, he's facing 110 years apparently, but I don't think he's gonna get it though. I don't think he's gonna be like a Madoff. Madoff got hit with the book quite hard.
Well,
I think this guy is probably gonna. Anyways, but anyways, now I am rambling. Check out Two Dads React to Dr. Thunder. Check us out next week. We're getting ish done. Okay. And also, Case Closed. Case Closed, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. The place to be, highest level conversation. Highest level conversation. Highest level conversation with the all-star panel on the most relevant topics, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we're out, Dr. Thunder.
we are out.
Are we? Are we out? Let's see. How do we go out? Go out with this dusty guy.
Young man, do you want to succeed, to expand beyond your horizons? If you want to be free, then you must learn to master yourself, your thoughts, feelings, your body and spirit. Master your subjective consciousness. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. The world outside of yourself is ruled by those who are not ruled by their base instincts. Young man, go forth into the world after this. Meditate, contemplate, then plan and execute an action towards success. Take a risk, break the rules, and be disciplined within self.